Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we have Santa Claus on the show. We have Dr. Eugene Williams, and we're going to talk about, hey, all these holidays, the most important things you can talk about is words. That's the name of the book I have here, and we're going to give you some suggestions about how you can really give something that's positive, not just for Christmas, forever. That's words and books. And we have our author and Dr. Williams here, and he's going to take you through a series of I say, books that I say the 5-year-old, the intermediate, and senior citizen, all of them like books. Hey, welcome, Dr. Williams.
Oh, it's so good to be here.
I should say ho,
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 ho.
ho.
It's so good to be here. We are booking it today.
We are
We're
book.
going to book it
We're gonna
today.
book.
Yes.
And books is the most. I would say that's the best gift you could give anyone. They can pick it up 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later. They always, and it leaves something with them. They'll learn something. Isn't that right?
That is so right.
Tell us just this holiday. Now, give us some data about reading and how it affects the youngsters at different levels, and how you have done a study there as far as the levels of reading that they have here, in not just the metropolitan area, but all over the United States.
Yes, indeed, Ed. I administer tests all the time to ascertain a student's reading comprehension. And I discover all the time that our young people are not reading on the level that they should be reading on. Very often I find 5th graders are reading on the 2nd grade level. Sometimes I find 7th graders are reading on the 2nd grade level. And very seldom do I find the youngsters reading on their age level. So I'm concerned about that. You know, I'm an advocate for reading. I started reading when I was very young. And Ed, I made sure that my son would start at an early age also. And he started reading when he was 3 years old. And you know, the good thing about that is that he read, and when he became a father, he shared with his daughter. And I have my granddaughter's book,
No kidding.
Paige Plans a Party. Paige Ann Marie Williams, a little girl who decided when she was in elementary school that she wanted to help youngsters learn to read. So this is her book. So I'm very, very excited about it. And of course, I'm excited about another book, a book that was written by my wife, Dr. Mary H. Johnson.
A
You
successful
are
living.
special. And you know, the good thing about this book is that it teaches morality, it teaches lessons, it teaches the 10 Commandments. I'm finding as I go about churches all over, young people don't know the 10 Commandments. You ask them the 10 Commandments and they look at you like, what are you talking about? And many times I ask the parents the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you have any commandments? And they look at me and they say, what are you talking? I said, okay, you make commandments every day. Put them on your refrigerator and say to your children, these are things that you should do, these are things that you shouldn't do. So reading is very important, and especially for young people. Well, you know, Ed, in the metropolitan area, but specifically in Washington, D.C., we talk a lot about illiteracy. And in Washington, D.C., I heard on a local radio station that 90,000 of the residents of the District of Columbia are functional illiterate. Now, that is not good.
No.
That's not good at all.
No.
And
Certainly
so,
not.
yeah, so everything that I have done for the last year or so has been about trying to improve the reading level. I teach, as you know, over at the University of the District of Columbia. And a couple of weeks ago, I gave a student an assignment, Ed. I said, 90,000? functionally illiterate? What are we going to do about it? And he said, I'll show you what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to do a project. And his project is just fantastic because his message is to parents. You see, we
Good.
as parents, Ed, and we've talked about this before, we are not doing what we need to do or what we should do for our young people. We're just not doing it. We'll buy them these electronic games and what have you, but
yeah.
not enough reading. I will tell you,
And it's cheaper. Reading is cheaper than the electronic gadgets.
it is cheaper. It is cheaper. So, as parents, here in the metropolitan area and all over the United States, particularly black parents, I say that with emphasis, black parents, read. I say black man, read. Black woman, read. Because if you read, then it's likely that your children will read.
Excellent.
And as a consequence, they will do better in school and they will do better on standardized tests like the ones that they have to take. So we are moving in that direction. And what a better time, Ed, to talk about this.
Yes.
During the holiday season, I wear my Santa Claus cap or hat or whatever you want to call it.
Bring goodies.
Because I'm giving
reading
books.
goodies.
Reading goodies. Because I'm giving books. For example, I'll give you for the teenagers, I'll give you Words Crossing Across, word search on Michelle Obama, or Words Crossing Across, word search on Barack Obama. I'd even give you Words Cross and Across, word search on LeBron James.
That's the basketball sports fans.
That's the great. And we talked. You remember?
Right.
We talked about this book before it was even written on your show.
Right.
We talked about the fact that youngsters will read more and learn more words more if they read books about people they know, they like.
Right.
That's very, very important. And so we're finding now that youngsters all over are reading Words Crossing Across, word search on LeBron James for our teenagers. Now, you know, we're going to move on up to the people like you and others out there who are not reading as they should.
Right.
And I would start them off with The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. Everybody, every black person, every white person, every person in this nation should read this book. And then
and what the subject matter? I mean, what is it?
it
Tell us
tells
a
the
little bit
state
about.
of Black America. And the sad thing about it is the things that we see going on now that we're upset about, not reading, not serving as good role models and what have you. The same things are going on now.
Yes.
You know, the same. But Carter wanted to bring this to our attention. And then
Basically, I think he was thinking in terms of preparing yourself for the future economically.
Economically as well.
Because you can't qualify for a position if you can't read.
That's
and,
right.
And a situation that occurred here in the Washington, D.C. area that I was appalled at. Individuals at the Walmart, you know, well, they had the type of jobs that are available and the people that applied for the jobs. Now, 23,000 people applied for 800 jobs. That means there's a lot of people out there that reading is very important. A lot of people are on the bottom of an economic ladder. And long as you can't read or your children can't read, you're going to stay on the bottom of the economic ladder. And that was an excellent example. 23,000 applicants for 800 jobs.
For 800 jobs.
That's what it was.
Can you imagine those people out there who didn't even apply?
That many people.
Because they were functionally illiterate? They
Exactly.
didn't know how to fill out an application. They didn't know how to do things like that. That's sad.
And reading, that helps you to qualify for different subjects.
Yes,
you got to
indeed.
read.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So Carter Wood, give us a little background about him.
Well, you know,
some people not aware of his background. He's not just a ordinary person.
No, he's not. He's not. First of all, I would say to you that he's my frat brother, for one thing. You know, but he was a great historian.
Right.
He was a great historian and will long be remembered.
Yeah.
I'd say to everyone out there who has not read the book about him,
Right.
or who have not read about his bio, and not read his bio, that they start doing that. And not only, they started at a very, very early age with their youngsters, talking with the youngsters. But then, Ed, you know,
What about some of his achievements? So to get people raring to go to read about him, Carter Woodson.
well, you know, the book that the magazine that he started.
Okay.
It was an outstanding magazine, and he's just fabulous in what he has done. But I want to move over, Ed, to another thing, and that is Christianity and reading. That's very important. I say to many of my Christian friends and many of my pastors across the country, years ago, where did reading start? We learned to read with the B-I-B-L-E, right? And it was done in the church. And now we're not finding a lot of that. We're not finding the churches teaching youngsters to read using the Bible. It became such an issue for my son and me that we decided on another book, Grounded in the Word, a guide to mastering standardized test vocabulary
Now,
and
that's
biblical
important.
comprehension. Now, this is
Now,
very, very
every,
important.
every family should have something concerning the word. Every family should have something, because everywhere you go, there's always a standardized test. There's always something that you have to qualify for.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And-
Tell
and-
more about it.
Well, let me tell you something. Years ago, when I was working in the District of Columbia public school system, preparing youngsters to do well on the SAT,
Okay?
the Lord gave me this idea. And the idea is this, that many of the words that are found on the SAT, the verbal part of the SAT, are found in the B-I-B-L-E.
The Bible.
Yes.
Right.
So I said, well, if that's the case, then we need to be looking closely at, and I looked at the New King James Version. And what we did was that my son and I pulled out all the words that we thought would appear on the SAT, and many of them appear on the SAT. And so we broke it down in such a way that the individual using a book like this would use it as he or she would read the New King James Version. For example, the word enigma. That's an SAT word. I've seen it over and over and over again. And many people don't even know that enigma means hard to understand, difficult, but it's right there in the Bible. You know, amicable, amity, all these words are there. So I say to the people out there during this season of joy, this season of jubilation, take a look at what Grounded in the Word has to offer you. Now, interesting thing about it is this book has been out for years.
Yes.
For at least 15 years. For
Is
at
that
least
right?
15 years. And so now I think that it's coming into its own. We're getting a lot of requests all over the country for this particular book. And my son and I are very, very proud of
Yeah,
it.
we got to get your son on the show.
Yeah,
we'll had your wife on. We'll get him on.
Oh, well, we can get him on. He loves to talk. And he talks much better
He's
than
like,
I do.
He's like his daddy, huh?
He's like his mother.
He's like his brother. Well, you're going to pay for that when you get home today.
Well, you know how it is. Those things
Right.
happen. Those
Right.
things happen, yes. But reading is so important. And I hope that here in
And the key, I think, Dr. Williams, is reading with understanding. See, that's the key. I mean, a lot of people read and they skip over words, and like we had earlier, we were saying that, especially with the mathematics, that you should read the summary. Very few people read the summary.
Very few people read the summary. As a
Tell
matter
us
of,
about that. I think
that's kind of interesting.
Dr. Johnson, you know, our great mathematician,
Yeah,
she
well,
was telling us this, and the young lady that we had as a guest, she was saying the same thing, that most people, what happens when they read is something they don't understand. They just skip right over it.
that is true.
And usually they miss the meaning of the word or the subject.
Right. You know, it's interesting that you would mention that because I shared the video that was done here with Dr. Mackling and Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
And the youngsters said, before I showed the video to them, they said that they just skipped over words that they didn't understand.
Right, exactly.
They would sit down to try to read a math book, and they never took a pencil to write, to underscore, anything like that.
Right.
But they were very happy with that show, and they said as a result of that, they were going to share it with relatives and friends about how to read a math textbook.
Yes, right.
You know,
well,
and-
well, I would say reading period, the summary. Very few people, even adults, don't read the summary. You know, they read the book, and when they get to subject matter in that they don't understand, maybe they may go to the summary as a reference.
Right.
See,
Right.
see,
Right.
those are things that people have to understand. And you can't give a child a book if you're not reading yourself.
That's right.
See, that's
right.
what people don't understand. You know what I mean? Well, I give so and so this book on this or words, and they haven't read or understand what the book is about themselves.
And you know,
And you gotta, or really, you gotta show by example. And most parents don't show by example because they don't read. It's okay, you're in school, you're supposed to read. Everybody has something to read every day.
And you know, that's one thing that I like so very much about our president, President Barack Obama. He talks about reading all the time. And you know that as a child, he read. He made sure that his parents made sure that he read. And that's one of the reasons that he has such an extensive vocabulary. That's one of the reasons he's so articulate. He's so eloquent.
Yes.
Mr. Barack Obama is a great role model for all of America, all people. But certainly, without a doubt, he's a good reading role model for our young boys and girls.
Yes.
And I want the parents out there to understand it. Yes, sometimes he may use words that they don't even understand. If they don't understand the word, then look it up. You know, people just skip over words now when they're reading or when they're hearing
certainly.
someone speaking.
Right.
I said, look it up. Look up the definition of the word. And you know, this book, it's a reading thing. Help your child understand is another book that parents can use. This book, there are many good things about this book, but there's one thing that I really like about it is that there are stories in this book written by young boys and girls from the D.C. public schools
Is that right?
discussing,
Homegrown, huh?
yes,
Good.
how they improve their vocabulary with their parents' help.
Yes. Now that's the important part with the parents' help. The parents have to get involved. That's one of the major problems with these low scores and everything. If parents are not involved, then the children are not involved.
No.
Although you say, well, homework. What's homework? Tell us, what is homework?
But you know, reading it, look at Ben Carson. It is reported that his mother could not what? Read.
Right.
But she gave him and his brother what? Book reports to do.
Right.
And so we want our people of today to go beyond that. If they cannot read the book as it is here, there's something called what? The e-book. Go to Kindle, wherever, and read, read, read. Let your children see you read, and then require them to read. I grew up in an environment where mother and father both finished maybe sixth grade. They never went to high school. They never went to college. But one thing was always going on in that house. My dad was always reading the Bible.
Bible. Yeah.
And on occasion he mispronounced words, but it didn't matter.
Right.
It didn't matter because he was a good role model for us.
Yes.
And then beyond that, as children, we would get newspapers from the homes
Right.
of the white people in the area, bring them home. What would happen? Dad would say, Mom would say, read. And after you read, tell me what you read.
Explain what you're reading
Explain
to make
what
sure,
right,
that
right,
your comprehension is.
And so I grew up, based on that experience, liking to read the newspaper. The Washington Post, the Washington Times, the New York Times, whatever. I know that you are a great reader too.
Oh yeah.
And you analyze everything that you read.
That's right. That's because of our training as a scientist.
Yes,
You know.
yes.
But actually, tell us some of the ways that you can promote youngsters and parents have that parent-youngster combination is so very important. Some parents, they don't mind giving an assignment, you know what I mean, to a child, but they don't follow up on it. How do you go about that?
You know, I'm going to say to parents, we're living in a technological age, and I'm not going to be one to say, do away with all that technology.
Right.
I'm going to say to them, balance it.
Right.
You get your technology, you can work with your technology after you read to me.
Yeah, right.
That's what I would say. A lot of people say,
Well, that's very important because technology is really competition in education now. Whereas it has improved questions about about different things. You can get the answer quicker now than you used to get. Okay.
Yes,
So how are you going to get a youngster weeded off the technology aspect of it and do more of the reading?
how are we going to do that?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I don't have any young ones around. The young people I work with in the District of Columbia at the Washington Tennis Foundation, I encourage the parents to read. I'm going to be sharing with all the parents this video that was done by my student. And if they want to look it up on YouTube, they can look up YUNG KWAN, Minority of One. If they look that up and they listen to what that young man, who is a father of a 2-year-old child without a job, what he's saying in that video, they would have to be moved, emotionally inspired to do what they can do for their young boys and their young girls.
Well, what about a stimulant like this? I know the parents won't like this. Is give a combination of parent and child homework. In other words, it's something that the child and the parent have to work together in order to come up with the assignment.
Well, I could do that with reading.
Yes,
And I know a lot of parents
that's what I'm
complain
saying.
about,
You know,
yeah.
where the parent is involved, or the parent has to sign off on it. You know, because with the parent signing off on it, that means they participated.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right,
With it,
right.
and the child, whatever it is, it may be a subject matter pertaining to just about anything. But the key to it is having parent participation, and parents won't like the idea. I know some schools, they sign off on the homework, but when they sign off on the homework, is there any way that you can really communicate with that parent about improving or future assignments?
Well, I tell you what, that was your idea, and I like it.
Yeah.
You know why? I'm right now concerned about a young man who's in the 7th grade and can't pronounce words. It is so sad. And I say to the school systems here in this area and all over the country, teach the youngsters how to pronounce words, phonics. Teach them, buy vocabulary books. But your idea is a great idea. Let the parents sign off.
Yes,
that
yes.
the students have
In other words,
completed this assignment.
their involvement. And quickly, I want you to. We got a new superintendent. How do you think his emphasis on arts and security?
Arts and
got
security.
2 seconds.
That is great, arts and security, but I would focus on math, science, the STEM subjects. You know, we get our arts, we get our music from the church, many of us, and we go
But
to
he's
church.
saying it's lacking in security.
Well, security, yes, we do need security,
Right.
but I wouldn't be spending a lot of money on the arts. It would be science, math, and technology.
All right. You have a beautiful, beautiful Christmas. And remember, read, 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 read. And this has been Ed Brown along with Dr. Williams. We're going to continue, this education thing, this reading, writing, and arithmetic. Have a good holiday, okay? And don't forget the Happy New Year, too.